Okay, Jim, you ready to begin?
I'm ready to begin. Sorry about that.
That's okay. That's all right. Okay, I'm going to start. This is a regular meeting of the Princeton Zoning Board of Adjustment being held electronically via Zoom on February 28th, 2024 at 7:30 p.m. Pursuant to Section 13 of the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of the time and place of this meeting has been given by prominently posting the sunshine notice of the Princeton Zoning Board of Adjustment. Such notice has been placed on the official bulletin board at the municipal complex, and by transmitting a copy of this notice to the Princeton Packet, Town Topics, the Times, Trentonian, and by filing a copy with the clerk of Princeton on February 23rd, 2024, and has been posted to the municipal website, www.princetonnj.gov/meetings. Pursuant to the extension of the ongoing state of emergency by Executive Order Number 292, in accordance with the Emergency Remote Public Meetings Protocol for local bodies, to conduct a public meeting without physical attendance by members of the public, notice that during this extension of the state of emergency, all regular and special meetings of the Princeton Zoning Board of Adjustment will be held electronically via Zoom, was transmitted to the Princeton Packet, Town Topics, and the Times, and was filed with the clerk of Princeton on the 24th day of April 2020. Such notices have been placed on the official bulletin board at the municipal complex and on the Princeton website and are to be maintained throughout the year, and by transmitting a copy of same to the Princeton Packet, Town Topics, the Times, Trentonian, Comcast Media, and by filing a copy thereof with the clerk of Princeton. Notices have been placed on all window doors of the municipal complex. Claudia, can you call the roll, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Chen, Ms. Coulson, Mr. Davich,
Yes.
Mr. Floyd,
Here.
Mr. Shriver,
Here.
Mr. Tenenbaum,
Here.
Chairman Cohen,
Here.
Mr. Stein, Ms. Donna. Thank you.
Okay, the first thing we have is an administrative matter, which is the end of the year report. Put together by our zoning officer, Mr. Bridger. Do you want to summarize it, or do we just want to,
I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. I was just gonna
Right.
suggest maybe you take a look at it if we can regroup next month. If there's any issues or any discrepancies, we can address them, but we'll have a resolution next month for formal adoption of the
okay, very good.
report.
Okay, so we have minutes from 3 meetings, although 2 are only listed on the agenda. What do we do, Karen? Do we have to amend
Yes,
the
I
agenda?
understand from Claudia that the third set of minutes was circulated to the board. We need a motion and a second to amend the agenda to add, I believe it's the minutes for the October 2023 meeting. Is that
The
correct,
October
Claudia?
25th.
Yeah,
2020.
10/25/23.
Okay. So we need a motion and second, and then a roll call vote so that we can amend the agenda to add those minutes.
So moved.
Second, anyone?
Second.
Okay. Claudia, do you want to, do we
Mr.
want to do it
Davitt?
good?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Floyd,
Yes.
Mrs. Shriver,
Yes.
Mr. Tenenbaum,
Yes.
Chairman Cohen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess we can hear this one first. We're going to approve minutes. And the first minutes, we just discussed amending the agenda. 4 would be the meeting minutes of October 25th, 2023. Again, they were circulated. If everybody's had the chance to review it and are comfortable with them, if someone would like to make a motion.
I'll move approval, Floyd.
Thank you. Second, anyone?
Second.
Thank you. Claudia?
Mr. Davich,
Yes.
Mr. Floyd,
yes,
Mr. Shriver,
Yes.
Chairman Cohen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. The next one, the next set of minute notes is December 6, 2023. Once again, this was in your packet. If it's okay, if someone would like to make a motion.
I'll make a motion, Floyd,
Thank you. Second, anyone?
Sure, I'll second, Davidge.
Okay. Claudia?
Mr. Davich,
Yes.
Mr. Floyd,
yes,
Mr. Shriver,
Yes.
Chairman Cohen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. We have two resolutions to approve this evening. Again, both were in your packet. The first is case number Z 23-405.
Mr.
110.
Chairman,
Yes,
no,
sorry, there's one more set of minutes.
Yeah, the 12/13s. Thanks, Claudia.
what was that one?
12,
December
13, min,
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. What did I do with that? I thought I had that. That's what I did, I didn't do it, I have it right here, I'm sorry. Yes, the last set of minutes is December 13th, 2023. Again, if someone would like to make a motion, if you're comfortable with it.
I do have a question on it.
Sure. Yes,
20 Linden Lane,
yes.
before the paragraph regarding the motion, it says it was approved with conditions. I thought we didn't approve the parking spot. That was rejected, I believe.
I think you're right.
That is correct.
We approved the garage, but not the,
Not the parking, that's right.
Good catch. Thank you, Mike.
Okay, I will revise that.
Okay, does someone want to make a motion for acceptance of these minutes? With that
I'll move it.
modification? Thank you,
Second.
Claudia.
Mr. Davich,
Yes.
Mr. Floyd,
yes,
Mr. Shriver,
Yes.
Chairman Cohen.
Yes. Okay, we have two resolutions. Our first is case Z 23-405, 110 Lee Avenue, block 13.01, lot 6 in the R4 zone in the Witherspoon Jackson Historic District. The resolutions in your packet. Are there any corrections or modifications or an acceptance of this?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Davidge.
Okay, Claudia?
Mr. Davich,
Oh, is it on that one?
You recused yourself, Jim.
Oh, Lee Avenue, right.
Yeah.
We need another seconder.
Another second.
I'll say, am I allowed to second on this one?
yes.
You are.
Okay, then I'll second.
Claudia?
recuse, but I did I approved of the approval.
Mr. Shriver,
Yes.
Mr. Tannenbaum,
Yes,
Chairman Cohen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, our second and last resolution is case number Z 21-099, 871 Mount Lucas Road, block 1001, lot 4 in the OR1 zone. The resolution's in your packet, and if it's been reviewed by you and someone would like to make a motion or any corrections that are necessary.
Mr. Davich and Mr. Shriver and Chairman Cohen are the only ones that can vote.
So moved.
Okay.
Second,
Okay. Claudia?
Mr. Davich,
yes.
Mr. Shriver,
Yes.
Chairman Cohen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we have two cases this evening. The first is case Z 24-447, 95 Jefferson Road, block 22.02, lot 25, in the R3-B zone. Karen, is all the paperwork in order?
Yes, the noticing is in order and the board has jurisdiction tonight.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bridger, would you like to summarize your memo in this?
Yes, sir.
Eric, let me just swear you in for the evening. Do you swear or affirm your testimony this evening will be truthful?
I do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Great. The applicants, Andrew and Franziska Leifer are the owners of 95 Jefferson Road, and they are seeking a C2 variance to permit construction of an attic expansion in exception to the required smaller combined side yards, setbacks, and the height to setback ratio. A first floor addition is proposed to the rear elevation of the home in exception to the required smaller and combined side yard setbacks as well. Property is located in the R3B zone in the former Princeton Borough. The lot is non-complying with regard to the required 60-foot lot width. The existing's 50 feet. The existing house is non-complying with respect to the required 8-foot side yard setback. The existing is half a foot to the porch overhang. The combined side yard setback requirement is 20 and the existing is 7.5 feet, and that's again to the overhangs. The height to setback ratio on the right side is complying. However, on the left side, the requirement is 3-to-1 and the existing is 7.94-to-1. The applicants are seeking to renovate the existing house by expanding the attic and replacing the side-facing gable with a front-facing gable at a lower roof pitch, resulting in a higher ceiling to accommodate a master suite. And there's a one-story addition proposed in the rear, which will encroach into the side yard setbacks. The addition requires the following variances. The required smaller side yard setback is 8. The proposed will be 4 feet 2 inches to the roof edge of the addition. And then the combined side yard setback is 20, and the proposed will be 11 feet 2 to the roof edge addition. And the height to setback ratio, it's still a variance. However, it does go down slightly from the existing 7.94-to-1, and the proposed is 6.64-to-1, and the requirement is 3-to-1. And they've requested consideration under the C2 criteria. That's a brief synopsis of the case. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to address them.
Board members, is there any questions of Mr. Bridger?
Thank you.
Okay, all right. Hearing none, who's going to present this for the applicant?
I'd like to present it.
Okay.
My wife and I are the applicants.
Very good. Karen, can you swear them in,
I
please?
will. Is it Mr. Leifer or Leifer, which is correct?
Lifer.
Leifer, all righty. Mr. Leifer, do you swear or affirm your testimony this evening will be truthful?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you to the board and the committee. Can everyone see this slide here?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you. Tonight, we're here in regard to the application for the variance for our house on 95 Jefferson Road. My wife and I are longtime residents here in Princeton. This is a 96-year-old 3-bedroom single-family home. Our goals for this renovation were to increase the livable space with minimal increase to the home footprint, to improve energy efficiency, and to reduce our carbon footprint. And so specifically, we're going to be converting the attic up here and also this 3-season room on the side into livable space. And we're building this first floor addition that Mr. Bridgers talked about in the back. This will be a less than 300 square foot addition. Then we're also doing a number of energy efficiency upgrades. We're installing insulation. The current house doesn't have it. New windows, heat pumps, and all electric appliances, and we're reconfiguring the roof for solar panels, which we'll talk about. If at any point, members of the zoning board have any questions, I'd be happy. Please just speak up and I'll do my best to answer them. So as Mr. Bridgers and the zoning office pointed out, these are the variance requests. And this is using the metrics that they've come up with in consultation with our architect based on the materials we've submitted. So by these metrics, one of the points we want to make in the presentation to the board is that if you compare the proposed to the existing, the proposed is either the same or closer to compliance than the existing on these axes that the zoning office is paying closest attention to. And I just want to walk you through those. We'll just go through one at a time, each one. So the first one is the smaller side yard setback. So under existing, the measure they're using is this to the porch overhang. That's this thing right here. This is the property line, and so there's a very small half-foot distance for the existing structure to the side door porch overhang. I find it also helpful, and maybe you will too, to think about the distance from the property line to the roof edge addition. That's this distance here. That's 4 feet and 1.5 inches. So that's the existing structure. And then let me show you what's happening with the proposed. Okay, still with the existing, this is a top-down view of the property. And you can see this is the house. That side porch would have gone here. And the proposed addition is in the back here. And it extends this existing wall back by 7 feet. And because it extends this existing wall back, it has this 4-foot 2-inch proposed smaller side yard setback. This right side here is the smaller side yard. And we wanted to just make a couple quick points. One is that, and we'll show you this in the next slide as well. So just to be clear, this red area is the proposed first floor addition. It extends this sidewall 7 feet back. We wanted to point out that it actually doesn't extend as far as our neighbor's property, our neighbor's house. So this is the neighbor's house here. This is the corner of the neighbor's house, and then this is their patio. Okay. And then I wanted to just provide a detailed view of the addition. So if you just look at the first floor, on the left, you'll see what the existing first floor looks like. And on the right-hand side, you can see the proposed, and you'll see this area shaded in here. This is the new addition. And you'll see this is the 7 feet of extending the existing wall. Okay. The 2 points were that it extends at 7 feet and that the total additional footprint is less than 300 square feet. And another point we just want to make clear is the addition is only on the first floor. This is the addition in the back. You're looking at the side. This is the street over here. Okay. All right. I wanted to mention I mostly talked about the smaller side yard because that's what primarily is contributing to the combined side yard setback. If you have questions on that, I'm happy to jump back to that. The third row here is about the height to setback ratio. As Mr. Bridger said, it's required is 3 to 1. The existing setback ratio is shown here. It's 7.94 to 1. Under the proposed renovations, that setback ratio it gets ever slightly closer to compliance with a setback ratio of 6.64 to 1, although still out of compliance. This is would be compliant, 3 to 1. We wanted to make 2 points about this, is that The reason this gets smaller is because this proposed roof edge at the small side yard is lower than the existing roof. And actually, the overall height of the house is decreasing just a little bit. Okay? If there's questions about that. All right, so the key points for the variance request is that, the proposed changes are the same or closer to compliance than the existing structure. This is a modest, what we consider a modest addition that's restricted only to the first floor. The overall height of the home decreases. Proposed height to setback ratio improves relative to existing, and more broadly, we've tried to make the changes reflect the spirit of the zoning laws. And I have just a couple more slides that talk more about the zoning laws and how we think this fits into the spirit of that more broadly than these variances. So one, based on the material we've seen from the zoning board, one of the goals is to promote a desirable visual environment. We've tried to do that by working with a local architect who actually lives 3 doors down and lives on the street, and also is very invested in a pleasant visual environment. And we think she's doing a great job. Also, we've worked hard to promote conservation of energy resources and valuable natural resources. I'll just talk very briefly how we're doing that. But one of the biggest changes is we're changing the roof. So instead of the roof that currently faces east-west, we're getting a north-south facing roof to optimize solar energy. And so there's going to be solar panels all here. And by making this side of the roof larger than this side, and by tilting it to the south, we can do a lot better job of capturing energy from the sun and reduce our carbon footprint. Okay. Another point towards this point of preserving natural resources, both we and our neighbors really love this tree here, and we have tried, and we have designed the entire addition to work around the tree to preserve the existing tree. We're pointing out that the proposals are, the proposed renovations would add impervious coverage of less than 400 square feet in agreement with the zoning board requirements. That's all I prepared. I'm happy to take questions and discuss further. Maybe did I forget anything to add? All right, well, we want to thank the zoning board, the department, Claudia, the staff, everyone. Thank you.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Leifer, we'll just mark this exhibit A1, all your slides collectively. That will be your exhibit for tonight.
They've already
you.
been submitted to Claudia.
I know, I
Okay.
know it has.
Thank
Yes,
you.
I know.
Okay. Board members, do you have any question of the applicant?
Is this not in the historic district?
This is not in any historic district that I'm aware of.
I congratulate you on your presentation because I thought it was terrific, and I like the way you did it. And I like what you're planning to do, but I can't help but be struck by the changes of the windows you're doing on the front of the house. And I don't know your neighborhood well, but I'm wondering, does that really fit into the neighborhood?
I mean, I would argue yes, but I can try to
I think it's slide 37.
there. Here's a better and easier way of seeing the difference to the front of the house. You can see what's here and here. And I mean, as someone who lives on the house, lives on the street, I think it'll fit well. I think our architect who also lives on the street agrees. Let me know if there's a better way to
No,
address.
I think that's fine. I've just raised the question because I don't know the street that well. But if you all are convinced that it doesn't change this, I believe you. I believe your architect. But I was struck by the kind of traditional view into a slightly more modern.
We
But
have
it's
to
fine.
change it a little bit to reflect kind of the year that we're now in with the construction versus when the house was built, but also still being mindful of what the original house looked like and trying to not make too many changes, but your point is well taken. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Okay. Any other comments from the board?
I'll just comment as far as, you know, the visual improvement. It'll take some getting used to for me. And I do live close to the neighborhood, but there's all types of houses, mostly older houses, but all different styles in that block. So there's not a consistent look, but you know, the switch from the existing roof line to what's proposed is what it is, and I'm not sure it's an improvement visual.
Residential lots and
Yeah, but you know, our area is not the criticized style.
Well, any other comments, Michael?
No,
My biggest concern is this is visually a 3-story house now in an area that 2.5 stories are allowed in. And I think it's, in my opinion, it's out of character with the area. I recognize that the overall roof height is lower, but the visual impact that the front elevation has on the street is truly a 3-story home. And I think personally, I think it's out of proportion with other houses in the area. I recognize that you want to create living space up there. And in my opinion, and I am not the architect on the project, in my opinion, you probably could have worked somehow with the existing attic space with maybe some dormers or something that would get you the extra area you desire without clearly making this a 3-story house.
I would just, oh, sorry, please continue.
No, it's all right. So that's my concern. I just think that it's inconsistent with other houses in the area. Jefferson's a beautiful block. It has very nice houses on it. And I think this one, personally, I think the full 3rd floor hurts the visual impact on the street. The windows, I also agree with Stephen. It's not our purview to really comment on them. I mean, we have no design criteria, but I do agree with Stephen that they're inconsistent with other homes in the area, and I think with the character of the house. But my biggest concern is the full 3rd floor. I think it's really.
I would just make clear.
Hang on one sec, please. I just think it's awkward, to be honest with you. Okay, please speak.
I wanted to just point out maybe one thing that we haven't really highlighted in response to what you just said, which is the visual appearance of the 3rd, like 2-story versus 3-story house. So one thing that our architect specifically added to make it less like tall looking, less of like a contiguous vertical wall, is this roof, like small roof that you can see on the
Yes,
try to, so
I
that
see it. Yes,
break up the house visually and make it look less tall. And I would also offer that the house is significantly shorter than several other houses that are in the immediate neighborhood, like 2 houses down, for example. There's one house that is quite a bit taller than our house. So even, I understand your point, but in terms of the overall height, that really is, you know, much less than some of the other houses that are on the same block.
it's not so much the overall height that concerns me, quite frankly. And I saw the section of roof that sort of broke up that front facade. I'll call it the bulk of the house visually when you look at it from the street. and you look at other houses, the sloping roof lines, which slope back from the front of the properties, so from the front of the other homes on the block, breaks up the bulk of the building. This one is a much higher facade, which I think, again, I think it's inconsistent with the, with other homes in the area. And again, as I said before, I mean, you're asking for a variance for the 3 stories, the full 3 stories. And I'm just wondering whether it could have been done within the 2.5-story context with the use of dormers and to get you the space you want within that 3rd floor. And I recognize also it would have an impact on the solar panels you have, but I think that could be worked out as well.
Mr.
mean, that-
Leifert,
I'm sorry.
is your architect going to testify tonight, or are they available?
They could be, let me quickly check
Our architect is on the
on the
call.
line,
So
but
one additional maybe thing to note is, I mean, as you said, like, you're completely right, we could have stayed with the original orientation of the roof. There are houses exactly on our block that have the same new orientation where the house is facing the street. So not all the houses have the roof, away from the, I don't know. Sorry.
Sure, I understand what you're saying,
Yeah.
yes.
So there are a number of houses that will have the same roof orientation as the proposed. And we considered to keep, and that was the original design, to keep the roof in the original orientation and, use dormers just like you suggested, but we realized that really that would not be optimal for the solar panels. So that's what the main motivation to rotate so that we could face south instead of facing west, and then increasing the area that was south facing.
and I can just to reiterate that, I can speak to the technical aspects on the solar panels, that by rotating the house to be southern facing and making it asymmetric so that the southern facing sloped roof is much larger, you gain not insignificant, I estimated it's over 30% increase to 40%. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I had another point, but I forgot.
No, I understand what you're saying. I'm concerned with this house relative to other houses on the block, and I think, again, as I said, I don't see the need for the full 3-story home and the variance required by it. And I do recognize that the orientation of the roof affects the solar panels, but again, this is keeping the house within the existing character of the other houses in the neighborhood. And I think that's important to other houses in the area and other property owners. So,
Mr. Leifert, did you say you had your architect available? Do you want that person to testify?
Let me check. We weren't planning to, our architect wasn't planning to testify.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, that's up to you, but I'm just asking, since this is your presentation at this point in the meeting, if you want your architect, then we should get them on the line.
for half a second.
I don't know. I mean, we're not sure yet how to exactly address the concerns, but
Yeah,
because really our main motivation was, the focus on the sustainability, while from our perspective, being consistent and mindful of what the house will look like. So this point about the aesthetics, we didn't realize was going to be so emphasized, but I maybe there's
Oh.
one other,
yeah, no, go ahead.
sorry,
ahead.
I'll make one other point about, the concern about the house appearing tall. In addition to that roof line, we're also planning to break up the aesthetics of having a very tall front wall with, using different colors and different materials. So the main house is stucco, and then the top floor is going to use a type of siding. So that also breaks up the visual appearance of having it particularly tall. So we've definitely, put thought into that already, with the idea of not wanting to create that appearance that you're calling out. But again, with emphasizing and placing priority on the sustainability aspect, we really felt like this was the best, was the most important thing, and this was the best solution that we've been able to come up with.
And I will just emphasize, that, you know, I'm a strong believer in metrics, right? I mean, that's why the variance is needed in the first place, is heights and distances matter. And if the concern is about the appearance of the height of the house, I think it carries a lot of weight that we chose to make our house shorter. So the house height is decreasing. And with some additional, I think that is an important point.
Okay. All right, do you want to have your architect testify or not? It's up to you.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, very good. All right, board members, are there any other questions of the applicant? Okay, what we're gonna do now is we're going to go into executive session. We
Oh,
open,
wait.
Public.
Public comment,
I'm sorry?
Steve, public comment. You need to open it.
Oh, I'm sorry, I meant
Yeah.
public comment, not executive session. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Yeah, we open the hearing up to the public at this point. So if you'd like to say anything prior to us doing that, you know, sum up where you're at, make any additional comments, you can do that now. Okay, all right. So at this point, we'll open it up to the public. Claudia, has anybody raised their
Andrew,
hand?
quit sharing your screen.
Oh, yeah, if you would, take the screen share down. Thank you. All right, so Claudia, at this point, has anybody raised their hands to indicate they'd like to speak on this application?
There's one person, 1 second.
Unmute. Can you hear me?
We can
but
hear
we
you, sir,
can't
but we
see you.
can't see you.
How do I do the camera thing? Start video.
That would work.
There we
you
go.
Mr. Sutphin, we
I-
need your address if you are comfortable giving it to us.
Sure,
And we need to swear you in.
So I grew up on 501 Jefferson Road, Princeton, New Jersey, 08540 3419. But I live across town now on Olden Lane. And but
Okay.
my parents still live there, and they are aging in place. So I
Okay.
am representing my 93-year-old father, and my cannot release the age of my mother without being
Okay,
And Mr. Sutphin, do you swear or affirm any testimony you give this evening will be truthful?
yes, of course.
Thank you.
So my dad was a lawyer in Princeton for 65 years, and his adage was the worst representation as you can make is for yourself. And I think that these folks have done a really poor job of representing what they're trying to do. And of course, living on this street, I'm very familiar. You know, I had lots of friends that grew up in this house. The Ivins family grew up in this house when I was a kid, who was the high school PE director, and then the director of the community park pool. Anyway, what they are attempting to try to describe is they're going to rotate the roof of the house, keeping it the same height, from being oriented from east to west to north to south. So of course, in that, the south being the optimal sun capture is the thing that they're trying to do. Now, this part of Jefferson Street is really densely populated, so there's not a lot of room between houses. That's your guys' call. but I think that the switching of the roof, they're not really raising or lowering the size of the house. And I think in the sustainable Princeton motto, I think that that's a great thing. It's a shame that their architect didn't get involved in this because, in fact, I've spoken with the guys that are building this stuff for the architect, and they're keeping all the existing roof structure. So they're just basically turning the pitch of the roof. And so, you know, in this sustainable Princeton kind of thing, I think this is a great thing. I will be interested to hear if there are any other neighbors on this forum that object to the, you know, closeness of the small overhang that is near the side of the north side of their home. But I personally think it's unfortunate that Jefferson Road, and including my parents' house at 501 Jefferson Road, is oriented east to west and not capturing the full sunlight of south to north, well, south most importantly. And you guys got to get a lawyer. You need to get somebody to represent yourself better than you guys do, including your architect. But I don't think that this is like, you know, something that should be thrown on the scrap heap. I think what they're trying to do is admirable from a sustainability standpoint, since like I can't run my leaf blower anymore, and I've moved on up to an electric leaf blower. But I think what y'all are doing is terrific, and I'm bicycle to school up and down Jefferson Road more times than I'd like to admit to, and to the library and so forth. But I think the adage is only a fool represents themselves. So I would just be curious if your neighbors are on this call later on that have more skin in the game than I. And I am not an architect or anything like that, but I think what y'all are trying to accomplish is great, especially since my parents' house was built in the 1800s, and our house over here is built in 1964. And my God, I'm fixing more stuff than known to man. Anyway, I will stop there. Thank you for entertaining my comments.
Thank you. Claudia, does anyone else want to speak on behalf of this application?
Oh, here we go.
Claudia?
Sir,
Oh, we
what
have
is your
another
name?
member. We have somebody else on the screen.
Yes,
Sir, sir,
your
could
name,
you give
sir?
us?
Yes, my name is Mohit. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, sure. Could you give us your last name, sir, if you're comfortable?
Mohit Pasricha.
Could you spell that, sir?
Sure. PASRICHA.
Thank you. And if you're comfortable, would you give us your address?
99 Jefferson Road.
All righty. And do you swear or affirm any testimony you give this evening will be truthful?
Yes.
Thank you.
Please
So-
proceed.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to let me chime in here. We live next doors to Andy and Franzi. They're the most delightful people that we know on the street. We've lived in Jefferson since 2018 now. Our house is also a little over 90 years old. And I just want to say that what Andy and Franzi are trying to do in terms of sustainability and using solar power to generate electricity and save carbon footprint overall, that is something that we have considered many times, but because of the direction of our roof, which is currently the same as theirs, we haven't not been able to do that. And you know, we got the same recommendation that, hey, you need to rotate your roof to be able to capture sunlight better to generate electricity. But because of the cost involved, we've decided not to proceed. So I think what they're trying to do is great. Overall, is going to be great for the environment. We care for the environment in Princeton in particular and overall in general a lot. So I commend their effort in doing this. So that's one. Secondly, I just went online. I was just checking houses in the neighborhood on Google Maps. And I do see a few houses in the neighborhood that are three floors. I looked at 89 Jefferson, 78, 166. So those are the three that I could just quickly, during this call, by going on Google Maps, I was able to see that. So it doesn't look like they're doing anything out of character here as far as the neighborhood is concerned. And I know there was a point raised about the windows. I've seen the plans, they shared with us as good neighbors, and they look pretty much the same to me, maybe with some minor changes. As far as and I'll make one last point, which is about the height of the roof. If anything, we will actually get more sunlight by them reducing the height of the roof and switching the direction. I think the roof is going down by about 3.5 feet, if I remember correctly. My son's room, our bedroom faces that direction, faces south. So we are actually looking forward to enjoying more sunlight by them rotating the roof. So I'll stop there. Thanks for the opportunity.
You're welcome. Okay, Claudia, is there anyone else who's raised their hands who would like to speak?
There are no more hands.
Okay, hearing none, we'll close the public portion of the hearing. Once again, Mr. and Mrs. Leifer, if you'd like to make a comment before we go into executive session. During executive session, we talk amongst ourselves, and we may ask you a question or may not, and then we'll make a decision on the vote. So do you want to say anything before we do that?
I just wanted to ask if there's any other concerns that haven't been voiced yet that we could potentially speak to, even though we're not doing a very good job advocating for ourselves apparently, but just wanted to take the opportunity to ask that question before we close.
Okay, well, it'll come out. If there are any other questions, the board members can ask you.
Okay.
And I do think personally you made a good presentation, but so I think you represented yourself well.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Actually, while we still have the floor, here's just an example. This is 2 doors down that also has this is a street view. I'm sorry, with the glare, but you'll see that having a south-facing roof is not completely out of character for.
What's the address, Mr. Leifer, of that
That's
picture?
87.
I'm sorry,
Jefferson.
say again?
87.
87?
It's just what I could pull out quickly.
It's 2 houses over from us, even though the numbers suggest it might be farther away.
There's only one house between us and it.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
okay, you're welcome. Okay, at this point, we'll go into executive session. Board members, any comments, questions before someone makes a motion?
I'd comment again. I think you did a terrific job presenting what you wanted to do. And everybody has their own opinion of that. I also, despite the fact that I noted that you're changing the exterior view, I like what you're doing. And I think, we need more sustainable Princeton, and this is an opportunity to do it. So I like what you're doing.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, my only comment is, as I said before, I don't see the need for the full 3 stories. And I think it could have been handled differently, and the sustainability aspect of this could have been achieved. Okay, but that's it. So, Um,
Steve, let me just interrupt. I've been reminded that Mrs. Leifer was not sworn in. At this
Okay.
point, that may be redundant, but Mrs. Leifer will just confirm with you that all the testimony you gave this evening was truthful.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
okay, board members? Would someone like to make a motion one way or the other? Anyone?
I move we approve the application.
Thank you.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Claudia, would you like to, are there any questions on the motion from the board? Okay, Claudia, can you call the roll?
Mr. Davich,
Yes.
Mr. Floyd,
Yes,
Mr. Shriver,
Yes,
Mr. Tenenbaum,
Yes.
Chairman Cohen.
I'm sorry, but I can't approve it. No.
Thank you. Is approved.
Thank you for coming out. Good luck with the house. Okay, moving right along. Our next case is case number Z23-438, 8 Valley Road, block 7001, lot 36 in the R6T zone. Karen, is the paperwork in order?
Yes, the noticing is in order. The board has jurisdiction to hear the application tonight.
Okay. Mr. Bridger, can you summarize your memo for us, please?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
James Mugliver is the owner and applicant of 8 Valley Road. They're seeking a floor area ratio variance to permit the construction of a principal dwelling, accessory dwelling, and a detached garage. C1 variances are requested to permit the new single family and accessory dwelling unit in exception to the required lot area width, front yard setbacks, and ADU setback in relation to the principal structure and driveway width. The property is located in the R6T zone in the former Princeton Township ordinance. The existing single-family use is permitted. The lot is non-compliant with the required lot area of 10,890 square feet. The existing lot area is 10,424 square feet. Lot depth requirement of 85 is also non-compliant. The existing's 75. And the existing dwelling is non-compliant with respect to the required side yard setbacks. Requirements 15, the existing's 11, and then the front yard prevailing setback along Valley Road is 63 feet, and the existing setback is 31 feet. The applicant is proposing to demolish the existing house and construct a new approximately 1,900 square foot single-family dwelling and a 770 square foot accessory dwelling unit. The home features a full, partially finished basement, living room, dining room, kitchen, TV room, 3 bedrooms, a den, and 3.5 baths. The ADU contains a living room, kitchen, 2 full baths, and 2 bedrooms. A single detached car garage is also proposed. The subject property is on a corner lot, which is challenging as it has 2 front yards. I'll start describing the variances. They're requesting a floor area variance. The maximum permitted here is 26%. They are proposing a 28.8% FAR. And then there's lot area variance requirements 10,890 square feet. The existing is 10,424. The lot depth, the required is 85, proposed is 75. The front yard prevailing setback on Valley Road, 63 is the requirement. Proposed is 16 feet for the principal house. The ADU also has a front yard setback from Valley Road. Again, 63 is a requirement. 22 feet 7 inches is for the ADU. And the front yard setback on Mount Lucas requirements 35, and the proposed is approximately 14.5 feet for the ADU. The front yard setback on Valley Road, the prevailing for the garage, 63-foot setback is required, 49 is proposed. And then I'm just gonna go into the other variances, bulk variance 7, which is accessory structure, front yard setback for the ADU in the garage. Section 10B 256.2 prohibits the location of an accessory structure in any front yard. The township definition of a front yard is basically the distance between the building line and the front line. So the yard is the space between the property line and the front of the principal building. The locations of the ADU and the garage in the front yard facing Mount Lucas require variances in accordance with section 10B 256.2. Bulk variance number 8, the ADU garage corner lot setback is required to be behind the principal dwelling. Again, that's 10B 265.2, and it's C, requires that accessory structures on a corner lot shall be stepped back from any property line along a street a minimum of 5 feet from the facade of the grade of the principal structure facing said street, or the minimum required setback pursuant to the required setback, which in this case would be 63 feet on Mount Lucas. So the proposed location of the ADU and the garage on the Mount Lucas Road elevation are both located in front of the principal dwelling and do not comply. Variance would be required for that. And then bulk variance 9, the garage corner lot setback behind principal dwelling. 10B 265.2C requires accessory structures on a corner lot be stepped back from any property line along a street a minimum of 5 feet from the facade of the principal structure facing said street, or the minimum setback required along that street. The proposed location of the garage facing Mount Lucas is set back 5 feet from the principal structure, but the location of the ADU facing Mount Lucas is not set back 5 feet from the house, so variance is required. And in addition, section 10B 255F2A also addresses the locations on corner lots and requires that a garage shall be located on the side of the dwelling furthest away from the street intersection. That's an additional variance. And then bulk variance number 10, section 10B 255.2I permits a maximum driveway width of 22 feet for the first 75 feet of the lot. The proposed driveway is 36 feet wide. The applicant should consider reducing the driveway and possibly providing stacked parking in front of the garage to comply with the ordinance. Staff does support the proposed turnaround due to the traffic flow on Valley Road and the proximity of the driveway to the traffic signal. I will just note that this is a extremely challenging lot with 2 front yards and substantial prevailing setback on Valley Road. The proposal involves numerous variances. The variance for the ADU and the detached garage to be set back from the principal dwelling could be eliminated if the location of the ADU and the garage were switched with the location of the principal house, with the principal house being placed at the corner of Mount Lucas and Valley Road in the general location of the ADU, and the location of the ADU and garage being placed on the Valley Road elevation and be set back 5 feet from the front facade of the principal structure. This approach would eliminate all the variances except lot area, lot depth, driveway width, and front yard setbacks. The FAR variance, which is mainly associated with the detached garage and could also be eliminated if the garage were placed behind the relocated principal dwelling in a similar location to the existing garage. Garages not exceeding 15 feet in height are exempt from up to 300 square feet of FAR if they are located completely behind the principal dwelling. The corner lot makes this challenging. The logistical reasons given for the proposed layout appear to have been designed so that the owner could live in the existing principal dwelling while the ADU was being constructed, and then live in the ADU while the principal dwelling was being constructed. The applicant should address how the requested variances promote the purposes of zoning and discuss whether they harm the zone plan. The board has allowed in the past applicants to live in an existing house, although it is a D variance, while the new home was being constructed on the same lot under a temporary D1 use variance to permit 2 principal dwellings on a lot. When only one is permitted, under this scenario, no certificate of occupancy would be issued until the old existing principal dwelling was demolished and a new one constructed along with all the site improvements. The applicant has requested consideration both under the C1 and C2 criteria. That's pretty much my memo. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to try to address them.
Board members, any questions of Mr. Berger?
Yeah, I have a quick question. In the beginning of your memo, the first paragraph, below the date, it says, in the next to the last sentence, it refers to, there's an exception, ADU height. Are they in violation?
No, I'm sorry, they're not in violation of ADU height. That's a
Okay.
mistake. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good catch.
Okay, any other questions, board members? Okay, who will be representing this application this evening?
Do you hear me?
Yes,
I will, as well as our architect and engineer.
okay,
Okay, sir, are you Mr. Moglever?
I am.
Alrighty. And are you going to present testimony this evening?
I'll give a short intro.
Okay. And is this your wife with you? Does she want to testify?
Yeah, this is my girlfriend, Nicole. But
Nicole. And can we have your full name, Nicole?
Nicole Orellana, last name Orellana.
Alrighty. If you would both swear or affirm that the testimony you give this evening will be truthful.
we do.
Thank you.
Okay. Are we good to start?
Yeah.
yes, you
Thank you
are.
very much. So good evening, everyone. My name is James, and as I mentioned, sitting next to me is my girlfriend, Nicole. Tonight, we're excited to present our vision for the lot at 8 Valley Road. For the past few months, we've been working with our architect, Marina, and our engineer and planner, Jim, to design a home that works well for us and our future family and makes sense within the context of the neighborhood and Princeton as a whole. Marina and Jim will present some of the more technical aspects of the project, but I'd like to just give a quick intro to give some background and to explain what we're looking to do. After moving around a whole bunch over the past few years, Nicole and I bought the house at 8 Valley Road this past August to settle down. It was pretty run down and needed quite a bit of TLC, but over the course of the past several months, we fixed the place up to make it livable. We're happy to be living there now, but we realize it's only a temporary solution as the house still has its fair share of issues. We'd like to achieve our goal of a comfortable home with multi-generational support in the following steps. Step 1, build an ADU on the empty half of the lot while we live in the current house. Step 2, move into the ADU, knock down the current house, and build the main house. Ideally, we'd want to start construction of the main house immediately after finishing the ADU, but we may need to wait a year or so depending on our finances. Step 3, move into the main house so it can support us and our growing family. Nicole's mom will then move into the ADU so she can be nearby while still maintaining independence. We appreciate you, the board, taking your time to listen to our presentation today and are looking forward to hearing your thoughts. Marina will now go into further detail explaining the project.
Hey, Marina, you'll need to be sworn in.
Yes,
Ms. Urbina?
absolutely.
Do you swear or affirm your testimony this evening will be truthful?
I do.
And you are testifying as the applicant's architect. My
Correct.
understanding is that you are licensed in the state of New Jersey and that your license is current. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Thank you for
Okay.
stating that. Yes.
Okay.
And you've testified before this board before, so we'll accept you as a witness, as an expert in your field.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Would it be okay for me to share a few slides?
Sure.
Oh, goodness. Let's hope I can do this. Let's see. All right, great. Hopefully everybody could see my screen.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So as James and Nicole gave an introduction, you may be familiar with this house that pretty much everybody who came to visit the municipality has seen. This is a view from the corner looking at the property. And as you could see, it's located away from the corner, leaving a large portion of the lot empty. The critical thing about the property itself, as you could see, the address is 8 Valley Road, but the lot is located perpendicular to all the other lots. The lot is non-conforming. It's a corner lot. So all the other lots are 150 feet deep on Valley Road. And this lot, because it's oriented the other way, it itself is only 75 feet deep, which causes the prevailing setback to effectively annihilate any possibility of doing anything on this property without a variance. So the lot width is supposed to be 75 feet. Oh, I'm sorry, the other way around. It is 75 feet while 85 is required, and the lot is slightly undersized, but it's very similar in size to the other properties. It's very, it's a little bit bigger than lot 37 and a little bit smaller than the other lots. So hopefully this diagram, and by the way, at any point in time, please ask questions if I'm missing something or forgetting something or not explaining something clearly. So this diagram basically shows where the front yards are. So if you take the 63-foot front yard from Valley Road, which is prevailing because the other lots are so deep, you basically overlaps with the rear yard. So there is absolutely no place on this property where one could build anything without being in violation. It's just this situation. It also, the fact that it's a corner complicates our situation because we have a prevailing front yard this way and prevailing front yard this way. So then here is our proposed site plan, and I will sort of point to what James already described. The existing house is located right here. So the concept is that Nicole and James will continue to live in the house the way it is right now, while, as you saw in the front picture, this empty space at the corner is available for them to build an accessory dwelling unit on their property. The accessory dwelling unit is both the house and accessory dwelling unit are fully compliant. The only difference in their height is compliant, the size is compliant, everything about them compliant, but they're completely in the front yard because, as you saw, there's nowhere for them to be but in the front yard. Everything's the front yard. So the thing that requires are, so the house and ADU conform, no FAR issue. Because the garage is located, so normally properties have a 300 square foot allowance for a garage if the garage is set back. So we have set back the garage from Valley Road and it meets all the requirements. So it would qualify for the 300 square foot garage credit. However, because it is effectively in front between the house and Valley Road, it triggers an issue that it doesn't qualify for this 300 square foot normal allowance, but it follows all the other requirements that would allow it to qualify if the lot wasn't so kind of unusual and unique. So as Derek mentioned, it is really important for us to provide a way for people who live on this property to pull in and then be able to turn around so that they're entering forward towards Valley Road and not backing up onto Valley Road. That's a much safer for everybody that you could see where you're going. You're not backing up on Valley Road. We are from the property corner 67 feet 7 inches away from the corner. So I think 40 is minimum recommended. So we're substantially more than that. It's also worth noting that maybe if it wasn't, there used to be trees that were located along the front of that property. And then I suspect what happened is when the municipality put in a sidewalk, when all the road improvements were done, the trees died and the municipality cut them down. So these trees were cut down. So we're proposing to straighten the sidewalk so that it creates a more consistent configuration of what's happening further down on Valley Road, where there's green space and then the sidewalk so that the pedestrians are not walking right near the road. Let's see, am I forgetting anything? Hopefully not. So this next slide is the diagram that shows where the existing house is. So again, as I showed in the picture, there's a big empty space here. So the concept was that they could still live in the house, construct an ADU, as sort of normally people who live in a house, they would be able to build an ADU. And then if, as Derek suggested, we were to reverse it, this would be a D variance. So then they would end up with two main houses. And Our fear was that a few year, after all this construction, if they were not able to start on building the second portion, the second phase of this project right away, then they would be kind of stuck, not able to they would either have to demo the house and just live in the new house and not be able to have the secondary supportive income to help them kind of build up their reserves and do this. So then here are some pictures just to give everybody a context. So this is the view from the PFAR side looking at the site. You can see there's a little bit of a dead tree situation going on. And then this is the view from their side towards the municipal building. So it's kind of an interesting situation where it's the end of the street of the single family homes, but all of the other properties right across from them are not single family homes. There's the municipal building there. Let's see, right across the street, there's the Valley Road School District building where you could see it's already a very different vocabulary. And then, so here we go, and that's the PFARS building. So what we try to do is we try to sort of, it is residential, but it's also trying to kind of be part of that more institutional corner, what I would call. So not an easy corner. So that's how we came up with this design. And what we were hoping to do is the larger home is located towards where the current home is right now. And then the ADU is set back. So as you're approaching the corner, the sort of view opens up and the corner building is smaller. So I put together, so that I wouldn't forget, the pros and the cons. Let's see if I could go through and explain. And again, at any point, stop me if anything's not making any sense. So again, as I said, the smaller building at the corner, because the ADU has to be set back 5 feet, which is what we're doing, it opens up and creates a better view corridor. The ADU being smaller also allows for better view corridor. We feel that as larger buildings, the main house will be larger and it will have a tendency or more likelihood to have kids there. It feels a better place for it to be located away from the corner, have a larger yard, especially with all of the fire trucks and things going on. It's more a quiet location and a better protected yard. With all, again, having a family away from the PFARS building seems like a more appropriate place to be. Allowing to build an ADU on the corner allows these guys to have a way of living in the house, building an ADU without a D variance. And, again, if they need an extra year to live in the, have 2 homes functional, that's possible. Should they do it the other way around, as Derek specifically mentioned, that's not a possibility. So anything on the property will require a variance because this is a corner and everything is in the prevailing setback. So one possibility, I guess, is we could have just come and asked for an ADU to be constructed. That would be a variance for all the same reasons, because again, everything on this property would be a variance. Then, 2 years down the line, come back and ask for a variance for a main house. And again, then we feel that looking at it more holistically all in one go is a better approach. And we're not wasting stuff, and, it's respectful to the time of you guys on the board to review this once. We feel that although this may be a funny reason, but it's, logical to have big house on Valley Road address and the little house to have the Mount Lucas address. And then again, this is really important to allow the ADU where sort of this is how the ADUs were meant to be. People would live in the house and then build this accessory structure. So then we try to think what would be the reasons against this. So locating the ADU closer to the corner does not allow us to qualify for this 300 square foot credit that we would normally be qualified. And we would be qualified if you're standing and looking at from Valley Road. It's the Mount Lucas condition that triggers this problem. Then the locating, again, if the reverse were true, if the house was located on the empty portion of the lot, some of the variances would go away, but in no case would all the variances would go away. And instead of having a C variance, we would be having a D variance, which sounds like a bigger problem. And then, worst case scenario, one could say like, okay, well, why don't they just build a big giant house and have less variances? And we feel that's very much not in keeping of general a way that Princeton is moving, where a lot of the discussions during the master plan suggested that we're trying to encourage smaller homes being built in walkable places like this one, where people could walk to work and families could live in multi-generational arrangements together. So that's what we've been able to come up with. We would love to hear your comments, thoughts, anything you need me to. I have all the drawings also if you need me to put them on the screen, if anybody has any questions, thoughts.
Ms. Urbina, just a housekeeping question. These slides have been provided to the board secretary, is that correct?
No, they have not been yet, but we'll be happy to provide them.
So you want this to be collectively your exhibit A? Is that
Yes.
correct?
I
Okay.
think that would be a
A1,
really good
okay.
idea.
All right. Mr. Bina, Mr. Chmielek is here tonight. Is the applicant seeking to have him testify too, or?
Possibly.
Yes. Oh, sorry, possibly.
Yes, that's Mr. Mulviver. Okay, and when were you proposing to do that? Because this is your time for your case, so.
Right. So we were hoping to see if any questions, suggestions, ideas, discussions need to be happening about where we are thus far.
And Mr. Chmielek would be testifying as a planner, engineer, or both?
Both.
Oh, okay.
Well, I guess I'll make a suggestion. And it's going to be very blatant. You build less building and go for less variances.
Well, that's a good suggestion. So let me just rephrase one more time that the only variances that are required for the size of the building are the garage. Or both buildings are fully compliant and meet all the requirements. So does that help in any way?
No, you have setbacks, variances, don't you?
Well, the entire property is in the setback variance, so we have no other setback variances, apart from the fact that everything is in the front setback. As you could see, there's nothing we can do on this property without having, we are not asking for any variances this way or this way. The only variances are due to the fact that this entire property is in the prevailing setback.
Well, it's not the entire property. I'm not sure why
Well,
you
it
say so.
is.
The entire
So-
property?
Yes. So if you measure from Valley Road, 63 feet ends up right here. And if you measure the rear setback 15 feet, the combined of them are larger than the property. There is absolute.
Isn't the applicable setback the prevailing setback?
Yes, that is
That
exactly
is
what.
different, isn't it?
Nope, it is 63 feet prevailing setback. So we're not asking for anything there. We're not too close to the side. We're not too close to the back. Our problem is that there is absolutely nothing on the property that could be built without being in the setback.
You could
It-
ask
it-
for less. You could ask for less than what you're asking.
What
And you can
would you
build
say?
less.
Right, so what would be build less?
That's for you to design, not me.
Okay, I hear you.
You asked for comments.
No, this is a great comment. We're absolutely asking for comments and I'm hoping to provide the answers the best that I can.
Do you want to answer that now, or do you want to wait until you hear other comments?
Well, I am struggling to suggest what, the only thing that is triggering any size related variance is the garage. The homes are fully conforming. They're not too large. They're not too high. They're in full compliance with all the other requirements. We can't really, I don't know what else to drop here. So we would love all the comments.
Board
Derek,
members,
it sounds like Derek has a comment.
please.
I'm just saying, I mean, the whole point of all these ordinances want the garages and the ADUs in the corner, and you could easily switch the house and the accessory dwelling unit. And you do have a D variance, right?
For the garage, correct.
So I'm just saying, you're saying there's no variances. If you switch
Yeah.
those two houses, you would eliminate all the variances except the ones that are driven by the prevailing front yard setbacks, which I agree is a big obstacle, but
Right, so what you're saying is there's nothing, are you in agreement, there's nothing we can do without being
no, I'm
in the
saying that you could
prevailing
easily switch the primary house to where the ADU is and the ADU and the garage back in the corner, and you would have a fairly, you would deal with the variances that you have control over.
Well, we could do this, right? The size of the house will not change. The size of the ADU will not change if we were to reverse them, right? If we were to have a house here and the ADU here, the sizes of them would be the same. All of the setback variances due to the prevailing setback will not go away. They will be the same. What would go away is the fact the garage will then not need a variance, but it could be the same, right? But what would be lost in that configuration is their ability to continue living in the house, build an ADU, and then keep the house and ADU at the same time. That ability will disappear. And they
I'm
will.
sorry, Marina, can you explain that? Because I don't understand what you're saying here.
So
They would lose the ability to keep the two of them at the same time?
yes, so we could ask for a D variance for them to live in the house and construct the house at the corner, right? That's a D variance because during that period, they will have two main houses on the property. Right?
Correct.
So that's what Derek explained to us. So if they were to live in the house, build a house on the corner, that's a D variance, right? So for them to remain here, stay here as they would like to do, they would need a D variance to build a new house over here, right? So the sizes of the two homes won't change, they would be the same, but we would be asking for a D variance temporarily. So then, as Derek explained, before they can have a certificate of occupancy for the new house, they would have to demolish the old house. And then they would be living in the new house and they won't have an ability to, wait a year to rent, for example, if they're living in ADU, they could rent the house, save up a little money, and then do the phase 2 construction. So they don't have that option anymore. So the size of the two buildings wouldn't change, but the phasing and the opportunity for them to do this in phases that works with their finances would be a problem. But the two homes are compliant.
Except for
the
all the
other
variances, correct? I mean, you have a D
exactly.
variance, you'd have two D variances. You have a D variance now, right? For the FAR.
For the garage, correct.
And that's a permanent
So-
D variance versus a temporary D variance if you switched the location of the houses. The garage could be set back and that would be exempt from FAR. I'm just,
Right.
that's stuff.
No, you're absolutely right. So then the question is, so what do we do? But the overall, we're not asking for the homes to be any bigger or smaller or anything. It's just where they're located on the property. And then I personally feel that having a larger home away from the corner is a better configuration for the reasons described, because that for example, if we were to say, okay, great, let's put the main house on the corner, right? Remember that house has to be 5 feet in front of the ADU. So then for us, you know, let's say the house is here, then the ADU will be 5 feet set back to meet all the requirements, right? So then the house is closer to the corner. To me, in this particular configuration, with PFARS and with all the municipal buildings, it would be preferred from my understanding of architectural standpoint to sort of push the building back in, right? So that it's kind of opening up towards the corner. But with the main house, then we would actually have to pull the main house forward to create that 5 foot requirement. See how in our case, we have, here's the house and the ADU is set back to meet that requirement. And I think it works better from its corner location.
But it still doesn't meet it. I mean,
But it's still the, right, because it
not
works
the front
this
yard
way, but
setback.
it doesn't work
The whole
that
idea
way.
was they want the ADUs behind the primary dwelling in this code. So, I mean,
Yeah,
Right, but there's no behind over here, unfortunately, right?
no, if you
it-
switched it, they would be behind the house. Then it would work. If you put the primary where the accessory is, you don't have that variance.
Right.
Have the FAR variance for the garage.
However, like, for example, I think, if I understand correctly, what it contemplates is here we have people who live in a house and the ADU would go in the back. There is no way for them to put it in the back. There's no back, right? Like from their existing home, they
It has to
don't
be
have
5
that
feet
option.
behind the facade of the property.
Right,
behind the
which is
facade of the
impossible in
principal.
their case because it has to be like right here. And
Not
that's already
necessarily.
rear, well, could it be right here? No, because it's
Depends
the
where you
front.
place the front house. You're gonna need a variance anyway for the front.
No, no,
yard
no, no,
variance.
no, no, I'm saying, let's say they keep the existing house. The existing house is staying. And they come and say, I'd like to put an ADU on this property with just the existing house staying, right? Where the only place for it to go is here, but that's the rear setback. They can't do it here because it's the front, and they can't do it in anywhere on this really large empty space. Their only option is here, if they would like to continue to live in their house.
What if the
Right.
ADU and the house were attached?
That's another possibility. The ADU and the, I am not 100% sure whether if everything was attached in this configuration. Derek, what do you think? If everything was attached?
I'd have to see a design, but I mean, you'd still have the front yard variances. It's just when you break up
It's still, the whole thing's in the front yard still.
that, well, that's nothing we can do anything. We're talking about the variances that you do have control over. When it's all driven by the fact that the ADU is located where it is and the primary home is located where it is.
So I'm
The
just
code
wondering,
wants the ADUs to be back in the corner, the garage to be back in the corner, and that's just not even being really paid attention to.
I'm just wondering if this is the correct forum for us to be redesigning architectural plans.
Jim, you're exactly right. So I guess my
It's
question.
Harlan, Steve.
Well, so I mean, unfortunately, zoning board does not have a concept review format. So we're presenting what we feel is the best solution here. But we're very much interested in everybody's suggestions and opinions. And
So excuse me, Marina, does that mean that you did not, it would, well, were you unable to meet with Derek to have him offer these same insights and suggestions prior to this meeting?
No, we have met with Derek and we have reviewed this multiple times. However, his opinion about the reverse of the two buildings came pretty late in the process.
Do you think it's valid?
I think it will reduce the number of variances. I completely agree. However, I think it's not a better design from a city planning, master planning perspective. I think it's in the fact that it triggers a temporary D variance that I find problematic. Purely
Versus-
by number of variances would be reduced, but it would be nowhere close to zero. It would
Well,
be
we-
still a substantial number.
But the
It won't
FAR
be-
variance will be a permanent D variance, correct? If that's
Unless
correct.
there's no garage, correct?
You know, I understand why he keeps, we keep saying unless there's no garage. But the D variance is related to the FAR, which is related to all the buildings together, added up.
Mhm.
So the FAR variance could go away if something other than the garage is reduced. So I think the number of times you said it's just the garage is a little misleading.
Well, let's pretend
It's
there
the
was no,
aggregate of
Okay,
all buildings.
right, so let's pretend that you said we're not comfortable with issuing an FAR variance. A valid point. So then if you were to talk to the homeowners and say, would you like to lose a living room or would you like to lose a garage? So I'm guessing, I would like to confirm with the homeowners, but I'm guessing they're gonna say, look, I could live without a garage and I can't live without a living room. So I would suspect they would say, well, what if there was no garage? Would that make anybody's life any easier?
Well,
Yeah.
I think there's, I'm sorry, Michael.
Or they might say,
Let's lose a living room?
maybe we can go with Derek's idea of switching the buildings.
Maybe. Oh, however, thus far in our conversations, we felt that that was not the preferred solution because it does not work with the way that they would like to approach the project of building something first, moving there and maybe waiting a year, gathering up their finances again, and then doing the construction.
So that raises another question. Derek, isn't there a specific time during which construction must commence?
2 years.
And would that be, so we're assuming that the first building would be complete within that 2-year timeframe, then they would be able to kind of pause the project, and then depending upon whether their finances are in place for the second one within that 2-year timeframe?
Well, the variance, there's a year under the variance to
Okay.
get a building permit. And then as long as that building's permit's open, the variance stays open.
For as long as necessary.
I mean, they could, it's not a hard and fast thing. They could add a couple boards a year to a garage and the building permit stays open, so.
So it's an open-ended permit, basically.
I mean, if you continue to work, but it's, that's why some
I mean,
projects take forever and.
Marina, look, I think you've done a really incredible job. I love the design. I love all of your work. So, I mean, it's not a question of that. I think right now, the board has given you some input and some insight. And if you want to proceed, and if the homeowners want to proceed, then I'm going to move that we kind of go forward. If you would like to sort of say, why don't we reconsider based upon some of the information that was shared this evening, that's also an option. But as of right now, I'm going to suggest that unless other people have a lot of other comments, I think we kind of have an understanding of where we are on this. Is that correct, everyone, or am I speaking prematurely?
I generally agree with you, Harlan.
Yeah, I think I do as well.
I guess we would love to hear other people's thoughts and suggestions. So it sounds like Michael is concerned that with the FAR, which is valid concern. Are there other suggestions?
Well, I think Michael is also concerned about the number of variances that are being sought, when I don't believe that the accessory dwelling unit regulation should be subject, or a project involving accessory dwellings should be subject to so many variances that those variants are triggered because of various citing. I think so there's more to it than just the FAR. I also have a comment. I don't believe in getting into applicants' pocketbooks unless they raise it as a reason why I should vote for a variance, which the pocketbook issue could be valid, could not be valid. You're worrying about their cash flow. Now, everybody can be Googled, and maybe I can speak directly to your client as far as what business is he in? Is he in the real estate business? Is he in the property management business? Does he have access to other properties where he can move to or that he moved from? Is he has properties with, I don't know, B&B type or the family member that may move in? I don't know. It appears from some of the Google that property is not a scarce resource.
So
But
you feel,
but I keep hearing, oh, cash can't afford not to do it this way. And
okay,
don't,
well, I think your point you're making is that if I'm hearing correctly, that if the two things were reversed, right? And if the house was here and the ADU would here, you feel that that would be a better solution.
no, that's not what I'm just talking about. If
Because
you
that would
say,
eliminate a tremendous number of variances, but it will also eliminate the ability to occupy this property the way that they're suggesting.
I was only speaking to the need to occupy and whether it's a real need.
Got it. Okay.
That's what I was saying.
Got it. Okay, so do we hear any other comments or feedback or how we should be? So it sounds like Mr. Tenenbaum's comment is he likes the design. That is very much appreciated. If there are other comments that would be really helpful for us.
Well, I have a question. I agree with Michael. I don't think we've ever had a come before the board with so many requests for variances. And I'm just wondering if there aren't some properties that won't support ADUs, whether this might not be one of them. I mean, if you look down the rest of the street, certainly you are correct, right, in saying that your design looks more like the emergency center or the school building than it does the houses that go down the rest of the street. And I just wonder whether that property would support two buildings like that with that many variances.
Right, but let's think about it. So if, let's say, we were to reverse this.
Again, I don't want to go into the design. I'm just looking at what you have here. And I don't think that property supports those two dwellings with a garage.
Okay, but if there was no garage, there would be no FAR variance.
Yeah, but there'd be a lot of other variances.
Right. Correct. And then would the board prefer to see a one large house at this property?
We actually, Jim Davidge said that we're not here to sit and interactively redesign this. That's your job. And you come to us with a proposal that you feel is applicable to the site. So far, you've gotten a lot of comments and you've gotten good suggestions from our zoning officer as well as the board members. And so it's up to you to decide which way to go. You have a situation where with a D variance, you know you're going to need 5 affirmative votes.
And
we have,
Ms. Rubina, I believe you're aware that tonight the board has 5 members in attendance, but that would mean you'd need each one of them to vote in your favor. So
Yeah, we
at this,
understand.
all right, so at this juncture, do you want to continue with your presentation? If
I
you
think
don't wa-
that what we would like to do is, if there are any other comments that we would love to hear an opinion of the board members who either haven't spoken at all or haven't spoken much. I think that we should probably hear everybody's opinions and then probably carry it to the next meeting. And then at that point, there'll hopefully be a larger board present, or maybe we'll modify the design.
okay,
But do we have any other suggestions that we would love to take into consideration? I understand that you're not here to redesign it for us, but we would love to hear sort of the feedback on what we have presented thus far and what
Well, I think you
feels.
have heard it, Ms. Urbina. You've heard from Mr. Cohen, Mr. Schreiber, Mr. Floyd, Mr. Tenenbaum, and
Okay.
Mr. Davidge.
If
I
there,
think that's who we have at the board tonight. I think you've heard from everyone.
I do have one more comment regarding,
Absolutely.
I prefer the buildings to be switched around like Derek had suggested, but my additional concern is for the directly adjacent neighbors, the neighbor to the north. I believe the bigger building moved towards Witherspoon would block less that small neighbor building than the ADU would if they were switched. I think also it would impact less if the bulkier building, the bigger building is switched on the neighbor to the east. Although I realize they're set back a bit, but it would have less impact on the neighbors themselves.
Mm-hmm. No, that's really good feedback. So, unless there's any other feedback, which we would love to hear, we would propose to continue at the next hearing.
okay, let me ask a question, Mr. Berger. If the design does change, you have to, in order, first of all, can they be heard at the next meeting? Because I believe we have a pretty packed agenda in March.
Yeah, we have 3 or 4 cases. I mean, I could either hear it and push those cases back and hear this first, if we can get people to read the listen to the tape and review this hearing, or there's room in April.
When would they have to resubmit? If the design is modified, when would you need to see it for your review? And then we would, as a board, need to see it before the hearing.
The latest would be like the hearing is on the 27th of March, so the 13th, that week of the 10th.
Okay. And that's assuming that we can switch the other cases.
I'll just have to let them know there'll be, if there's
One
bumps, I mean,
before
if maybe the discussion will be less lengthy if depending on what they bring back.
Sure.
Mr. Bean, is that feasible? It's not much time for you to prepare different plans.
Well, I absolutely have to discuss it with the homeowners first, and assuming that we can figure out what the strategy would be, we will make our best attempt to bring things back.
Well, the real reason I ask is because either the board carries it with a firm date, or it's simply indicates it will be carried and that the applicant will renotice.
I think
Oh.
it's probably a safe bet to say that we will make it to the next meeting. we'll be able to resubmit as per date that Derek suggested.
The 10th of March? Okay, let's see. Well, the 10th of March is a Sunday,
That week, sorry.
so
So
that.
that would be the 11th.
That would be
Yep.
the 11th.
Actually, excuse me, I apologize, I got my dates mixed up. I'm on vacation from the 12th to the 19th, so.
The
um,
12th to the 19th of
of
March.
March, unfortunately.
Well,
Fortunately.
well, it would seem to be more practical at this point if you're going to ask for a continuance to do it till April.
Is that okay? Is that allowed?
Yeah, you could be first on the agenda because I haven't set that agenda yet, so.
Then to what date though in April, Derek?
Be
What's
the
the meeting date?
the 24th.
April 24?
April 24. James and Nicole, can you pop back in? Are you guys there? Turn your sound back on. Do you think that would be okay with you guys if we carry this to April 24th?
That's okay. If March isn't available, April's okay.
Yeah, and then that would not require additional noticing. That would just, we will decide today that it will be carried to April 24th.
Okay.
Am I understanding that correctly?
You are, obviously they would have to be submitted to Derek in sufficient time, and also it would need to be posted now on the website so that any changes you make,
Yeah, should we
be
make any
available.
changes, they would
Yeah.
be available ahead of time.
Right.
Right. Mhm.
And when would, Derek, when would drawings have to be resubmitted to you?
That first week of April or the 8th of April, that week of the 8th.
Okay. Okay,
I'm writing this down. So no later than April 8th, correct? But before would be okay.
Yeah, sure.
I'm pretty sure we can have something before.
okay,
Should James and Nicole decide to change, then we'll try to redo and come back.
okay.
Or reach out to board members to hear the tape via the meeting.
Excellent. All right. Great. Well, I think then we have a plan of how to move forward.
Okay, very good.
Excellent.
So we'll conclude the hearing at this point. Again, it'll be held if the new hearing or the next hearing on this case will be April 24th, assuming we get all our drawings in time. So thank you very much for coming before us, and do what you need to do. Thank you.
I apologize. I had my sound off, and thanks for hearing, and we'll see you back in April.
Okay, very good.
All right, thank you.
All right, we're adjourned. That's our last case, and Michael,
Thank
did you
you.
want to say something? I'm sorry, Michael, did you want to say something?
No,
Okay.
it wasn't me.
Okay, sorry. Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you all board members. We'll see you
Thank
in
you.
March.
All right, good night.
Good night.
Good night.
All right.
Good night.